Okay, today we're going to explore the phenomena of the state of relations in Singapore with regards to ethnicity or culture, and maybe there's a bit of nationality thrown in as well, from the point of view of stories. Yeah.
When I was actually during my diploma CCA orientation camp, so we are a group of 35 people, and then they group us in a groups of 8 at first. So it was already a pre-listed thing. So when I went there, I was thinking, oh, I'm going to meet friends of different backgrounds, and it's going to be a fun time. So when I first entered the hall, I saw everyone seems to be Chinese. Then I was wondering whether I was in the right CCA as well. So I went around and then I looked for the group orientation leaders. So I talked to them. This is the right CCA. And I was a bit shocked at first because I thought it would be more diverse, knowing that it's from this institution. But yeah, so as we go on, we had our greetings. You know, we got the numbers in and stuff like that, and then we started talking to each other and all that. But I realized that most of them were actually speaking Chinese, because they apparently their first language of English weren't their strongest, so they were just speaking in Chinese. So I went in and asked, you know, oh yeah, introduce myself as Jahangir and all that. Then they said, yeah, okay, right. Then we went to begin our first activity, which was like a volleyball, which was actually a group of, we are joined 2 teams, so a group of 4 people each. So I was thinking, hey, yeah, why don't I try to be a defender? I always like to play volleyball. So when we started to go in there, they told me maybe you could just step aside for this game, and then we form a group of 4 already that we think we are able to communicate and perform much better. So I was asking them, what makes you think that, you know, I won't be able to perform? Then they say, oh, nothing to do with my performance, but it was more of the communication. They said they'll be able to communicate well with each other because apparently 2 of them know each other, and the other 2 seems to get along with each other relatively quick. So I said, you know, that's not a fair assumption, and you can still converse to me in English. How they approach me and how they look at me, their demeanor around me, they seem to maybe not understand me, or they just prefer to get into their own clique. Like on that very first activity, they didn't even want to talk to me at all. It was just of me introducing myself, and then they didn't really come and talk to me, you know, approach me or anywhere else. So that whole first activity was just like, wow. Yeah, but the subsequent ones, they did talk to me, but we didn't really get along of sorts. Yeah.
You didn't feel included?
No, I didn't feel included in that whole group sense.
And not once did they say, you know, Indian, or did they say ethnic? They use an ethnic category.
No, they didn't say it because I was there, because it was all in a group. But you could see they gave out that impression, like, yeah.
One word came to my mind is this word called apunene. Okay, apunene. So I was like, as an Indian, someone actually called me before I even go to school. Right, I actually grew up in a kampung, so never heard this word before. So the school kids, when I joined the school, wanted to make friends with everybody, because in kampung we know everybody from every different race, and so I wanted to go and talk to somebody. Then they started to call me apunene and all that. So it's more not anger, it's more confusion. Why are you calling apunene? Then they actually shared, students from other race, it's actually you use coconut oil. So this is the birth of the coconut oil. I said, I used Burl-cream. Burl-cream was famous at the time, so my ira, so it was famous, so we used to use that. I said, no, I don't use oil. Why are you calling me apunene? Then they started to giggle, because they were themselves confused. Somebody must have used it. They said they did not understand the word apunene. How it impacted me was that actually put a block in mixing with other races. It was very interesting, because here I was in school talking to my own ethnic group, but when I go back home, I'm playing with all the other races as well, because there I was not called such names. So that's when the segregation, to me, discrimination occurred at that point. But at that point, I was too young to understand. So I explained, again I asked, what is this word apunene? And this word was really very discriminative for me, because nobody was willing to share what it was, or rather they don't know. So I went back home and asked my parents. My father was in the military at the time. When I say apunene, he was being a father, very protective, and saying, it's actually not a good word to have, so don't mix with this kind of people. So you see another discrimination. So nobody explains, said, don't mix with these people. Actually, I want to mix with them. But there's no guidance. So I went back to my mother. My mother, as I said, as usual, echoed my father's perception. But when I play with my other racist friends, so I actually asked them, what is this about? So one of them actually shared, oh, my parents actually shared, this word is actually sharing that you have, wearing coconut oil. And then because heritagely we are from India, so they have this perception that we will have coconut oil, we will smell the odor and all that. I said, but I'm born here. I'm brought up with all of you here. So that is the discrimination that resonates with me.
How did it make you feel?
Very upsetting, even now thinking about it.
Does that bring up any of the stories that you or experiences that you've lived through?
I can share a story. So basically, since I'm from IT and stuff, and people always see IT as mainly populated by Malays. So there's always been like stereotypes of like, like if you go ITE is the end and stuff, and like there's no future for you, that kind of thing. So that's another part. So the thing about it, right, is that there's a TikTok video, like there's 2 separate TikTok videos that I came across. So it was like 2 girls in a TikTok video that was dancing, like Malay girls, and there were Chinese girls who were like wearing ITE, like PE uniform and stuff. So I checked under the comments, like there were bad comments about it, being like, okay, so for the Malay ones, right, for the Malay girls, they got comments like, if you combine their GPAs, it'll be GPA 1 like that. Or why not, instead of like dancing, right, why don't you study? They also say some things like, this one like confirm Mina, that kind of thing. So Mina is like girl gangster, but for Malay, Matrep is for the same as well lah. If I explain it correctly, because that's what I get from. So basically they were, but for the Chinese girls who were dancing, but in the same uniform, they say, what IT is this? I want to go, like, wow, so pretty, like I want to go to that ITE right now just to see the pretty girls and stuff. It's like there's a big difference towards it, and there's like a big like 2 reactions from it. So like what I felt was like, if I do the same and release a video of myself dancing on TikTok, will I get the same like reaction back? Will people tell me like, like instead of dancing, why don't you go study since you ended up in ITE also? And that kind of made me feel like hurt, like because the fact that like, I'm Malay, that doesn't have to do anything with my intelligence as well. Like, it doesn't like interfere with anything. It's very frustrating. I don't know how to explain it, but it was very upsetting for me. It was just very upsetting.